Welcome to the Stairway to Heaven. We're coming to you bringing insights into the ever-changing high-frequency currents now bathing the planet and their effect on us all. The source of vital information for the evolving human being. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Ultimate freedom, natural gateways into the unified field. One of the many advantages of being alive during a time of increasing ambient frequency is the enhanced opportunity to connect with the unified field. We're hearing a lot about it, but what exactly is the unified field? While vast and virtually unknowable, we'll touch in on some of its properties as they apply to our spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Like all things, the unified field is related to frequency. Frequency expresses as a wave with peaks and valleys. At times of lower frequency, the waves are more spread out. Thus, there's more space between the peaks and the valleys. As the frequency rises, the peaks and valleys are closer together, resulting in acceleration of time. This grants us a more inclusive reality and access to an ever-expanding concept of truth. When things were changing very slowly, we experienced fewer peaks and valleys in a single lifetime. Reality was like a single framed image or a photograph as opposed to a motion picture or a video. We can apply all sorts of interpretations to a still image that can be proven false when we see the picture in motion. The still photograph leaves room to fill in a story that may or may not reflect the truth of the actual event. When living in a time of still photographs, room is left for individuals and cultures to create their own realities. These divergent realities not only promote alienation, but provide a greater opportunity to manipulate perceived truth. If one can manipulate the truth, one can control the actions of others. The more complete experience afforded during higher frequency times gives us a much larger picture of reality as it facilitates access to new information. It also can connect us to all that is. However, we are disconnected wherever we're unaware. To the degree we're disconnected from aspects of true reality, we're out of touch with the unified field. During lower frequency times, there's not only more space between the peaks and valleys, but also between us and all that is, including ourselves and each other. Slower moving periods afford us only partial information, leading to a limited reality. At higher frequency, we experience more peaks and valleys during our lifetimes. Every time we move from a peak to a valley, we undergo a polarity reversal. The more rapidly we undergo polarity reversals, the closer we come to unity, as access to the unity is in the neutral place between the polarities. The closer together the peaks and valleys, the more times we're exposed to the neutrality in between them. Rapid polarity changes are much like creating a flip book out of a sequential still photographs, then thumbing through the pages very quickly. What was a collection of still photos becomes a moving picture depicting an event in its entirety. Previously, the polarity shifts took lifetimes upon lifetimes to complete. Now, due to the higher frequency, we're passing through one approximately every 4 to 7 days. The increased polarity shift is providing access to changes in perception or perceived reality than was experienced by multiple generations in the past. In addition, the frequency is not constant. It's lower at the polarities, or poles, and higher at the switchover points, or what we shall call X points. This requires greater mobility in our personal frequency to freely navigate from one polarity to another with grace. The kicker is, we all have a certain number of restrictions, not only from this lifetime, but genetically passed down through our ancestors from times of lower frequency. These restrictions compromise our personal frequency. If we do not heal and move beyond our old damage, judgments, beliefs, and operating systems, we do not have personal access to the more expansive reality that can lead to the unified field. Every time we enter the higher frequency present at the X points, the ambient frequency on the planet rises, causing increasing pressure on all of our restrictions. In the absence of healing and clearing restrictions, embracing and incorporating the new frequency or information, one rapidly destabilizes. In a desperate search for comfort, sans the processing, some are clinging to a polarized and therefore lower frequency stance. Heaven knows we're seeing plenty of polarized stances. In the face of more expansive information emerging, many are taking the position of, "Don't confuse me with the facts, my mind is made up." The unified field is a frequency level where all is one. The frequency is so high, polarities changing so rapidly, that everything merges into one. It's not to say that the ambient frequency of the planet must rise before the unified field forms, but rather we must be able to accommodate the higher frequency to perceive it. These frequencies and X points are present all the time. The increase in ambient frequency on the planet is simply making them more available to us. Just like the cells in our body have been keeping us held together and functioning long before we invented the microscope and could perceive them, the unified field has always been present, connecting all that is. The only thing that changes is our perception and therefore our experience. The sleeper awakening. When accessing the unified field, all the information present in everything around us is available once we know how to download it and interpret it. When in connection with the unified field, the stresses of the human world can be put into perspective. Rather than by the press of the system, we have the power to access unlimited information, granting ultimate freedom. All we need to do is tend to our personal processing and embrace the deeper levels of truth, and we will certainly evolve with the times. However, to access the unified field, we need to take another step. The X points at the crossover from one polarity to another offer gateways into unity. To pass through these gateways, we need to not only be able to access higher frequency, but modulate our personal frequency to match the frequency of the gate. Like radio waves passing through a brick wall, we can transcend segregated, polarized reality and enter the unified field. This might all sound very technical and overwhelming. Fortunately, you don't have to be an electrical engineer to achieve it. The ancients have been doing it since the dawning of time. Through application of any number of ancient practices and rituals, one can master the skill of modulating frequency and enter the unified field. There are many factors all ancient practices have in common. Among these is initiation. It was understood that a practitioner needed to obtain frequency mobility before they could enter the unified field. To attain the necessary mobility, a massive reduction in restrictions in the form of old realities, patterns, and operating systems had to be shattered. It's no different today. The price of entry is and always has been the same. Only by finding and reevaluating judgments, operating systems, and belief systems can drag be reduced and the required frequency mobility achieved. This involves extensive shadow work, and it's not for the faint of heart. However, there is a carrot. Once the practitioner has achieved enough frequency mobility, they can learn to modulate their frequency and pass through the gate into the unified field and access all the wonderful power, wisdom, and information to be found there. Shaman and all such practitioners are in effect frequency masters. Through the shamanic journey trance or any number of meditative states, control of brainwave frequencies can be achieved. It's through intention, focus, and manipulating one's brainwave frequencies that different levels of consciousness are accessed. During lower frequency times, not only was the genetic predisposition to frequency mastery needed, but the level of discipline and practice required was Herculean. Now, with a drastic increase of ambient frequency, many more of us can enter the unified field, whether we're genetically predisposed or not. While access does require the processing and training and a viable practice, the deeper mysteries are becoming increasingly available to us all. X points created by polarity reversals are becoming much more common due to the increased ambient frequency on the planet. Yet these are by no means the only gates available to us. Even during lower frequency times, shaman could move into the unified field. It was through this merging that they performed healings, predictions, divinations, and accessed knowledge from the Akashic records, among many other seemingly impossible feats. As an example, if we can modulate frequency and access the unified field, we have access to the quantum level, as they are one and the same. Through clear intention and bottom line, and by modulating frequency at the quantum level, we can create the life we want, rather than living under the rules of the system. Intention and bottom line is introduced in Stairway to Heaven episode number 30, The Hidden Power That Drives Our Lives, Intention and Bottom Line. So where do we find other gateways granting us access to the unified field? Everywhere two or more electromagnetic fields cross, X-points are formed. The Sun and Earth both create electromagnetic fields, as do animal and human bodies, trees, and the four elements, water, air, earth, and fire, to name just a few. One who's well processed and trained can use ancient ritual to focus their intent to locate and pass through these X-points. As you're sitting there in your chair watching this program, there may be a happy little houseplant in the room. It creates an electromagnetic field, as do you. Electromagnetic fields extend far beyond the bodies creating them. You can bet at some point your field is crossing that of the plant. With processing and training, you can draw your awareness to an X-point created where your fields cross. Then modulate your frequency to that of the X-point, and voila, your awareness crosses the gate. Information on the other side of the gate is non-polarized and difficult to understand with a linear human mind. Again, with training, the frequencies you encounter there can be represented in imagination in metaphorical form for you to decode and glean the knowledge within. The very same thing happens when we are dreaming. Thus, the art form of dream interpretation. When we learn to modulate the frequency of our brainwaves at will, we can enter a dreamlike state and access the unified field without having to wait for a cyclic X-point or the dream state of sleep to appear. By visiting the elements in ordinary reality, going to a stream and sitting in the sunshine on the earth with a breeze blowing on your skin, you can shift into a daydream state and access these X-points created by your field crossing over that of the elements. Through exposing your body to nature, you can raise your frequency to align with the energies of the universe and the ever-changing frequencies therein, granting increased mobility and access to the unified field. Once you've repeated this on a regular basis, you can simply enter a quiet meditative state and return to the stream in your imagination. This is akin to a shamanic journey and also grants access to the X-points located there. There's more on this topic in Stairway to Heaven episode 22, Empowered by Earth Connection. A very important element in this exercise is being able to recognize when you're receiving information from the unified field. You might miss it because it's something we all do, if unconsciously. As your mind settles and you go into a daydream state, pay close attention to what you're dreaming about. Journal the experience. Watch what animals show up or the formation of clouds. Take note of any synchronicities. All of these are the language of spirit and bring messages from the unified field. According to a good dream interpretation book and on power animals, and looking up ones you see that will help you decode the process. Meanings deepen with time and experience, so be sure to journal all you experience and revisit it often. If you want to perfect your skill, take up a meditative shamanic practice. We're living in unprecedented times when spiritual wisdom is no longer restricted to a select few with genetic predisposition and training passed down from their ancestors. Any of us can access the unified field if we're but willing to pay the aforementioned price of entry. It's been said that inscribed above the gate to heaven is "Know thyself." Ultimately, we are the gate. Thank you for joining me, Gwilda Wiyaka, on the Stairway to Heaven, where we provide updates on the energetic currents facilitating our evolution into conscious, powerful co-creators. As I'm sure you've noticed, not only do the Stairway to Heaven episodes stand alone, but weave together to form a map to evolution and personal empowerment as we enter the new era. To revisit this or any of our past episodes, visit our archives at stairwaytoheavenmedia.com. If you'd like to find out more about me, my school, and the evolutionary tools we offer, visit findyourpathhome.com. Until next time, may you be blessed on your sacred path to wholeness. We are here. The time is now.